Everybody, Mark Ferguson with Invest for More. Just opened up the podcast, so everybody should be joining here shortly. Just to let you know, if you're watching the YouTube video right now, it'll be about 5 minutes before I actually get started on the presentation. So you're welcome to fast forward through that or just listen to me talk for a while. So I can see people are starting to join now. I was just saying, we'll get started here in about 5 minutes. I'll type that in. All right. Cool. And if anybody can't hear me or anybody has some issues, let me know. You should be able to type messages over on the right side here of your screen. I can see those, but other people cannot. So all the messages are private, just so people aren't talking to everybody else. Makes it a little easier. All right. So as you can see, I'm in my office right now. For those of you joining, we'll be getting started here shortly. I do have a lot of businesses. I have a lot of things going on. I know some of you think I might be like this super organized person, but the truth is I'm not. I'm more of a big picture guy. The details I don't like to mess around with so much. So my office is not super clean. I can give you a little tour here while we wait to get started. I know my camera isn't very clear right now. Over here, that's where David sits. He's one of the agents on my team. Our bookshelves full of training materials, various stuff, a pot I made in middle school, I think, which, yeah, I'm very proud of. Back here, that's where Nikki sits. Let's see if you see my finger right there. Those are our 10 flips we have in progress right now. So we keep track of all our flips, who's working on them on that whiteboard. I do have flips and rental properties, so do a number of different things. We have 2 other offices in this building for my team manager, Justin, another agent. We have BJ, my assistant, John. So we managed to keep pretty busy. I'm within an office. I'm not the broker. I just have a team within that office. And then I've got my rental properties. I've got my flips. And I've got Invest for More. So I managed to try and make it so I do all the things I love doing and let other people do the stuff I don't like doing as much. So wait a few more minutes here before we get started, and then we can start the presentation. Cool. Can you guys hear me okay? If anybody wants to chime in and chat and say yes or no or hi, that'd be great. Oh, yep. Thank you, everybody. Cool. Nice to meet you all. I do lots of conference calls, some coaching calls, and on those calls, I always get a chance to talk to other people. And it's always weird on these webinars because I'm basically talking to myself the whole time and I can't talk to anybody else. So thank you for everybody saying yes. Nice to meet you all. If you want to type questions in during the webinar, type them in. Oh, David said, I'm happy for the Broncos. Thank you, David. I am extremely happy too. That was awesome. They had the parade today in Denver, and they said 1 million people showed up for the parade. So that was pretty sweet. I could not be there, but yeah, if you guys have questions, type them over there where you just typed your replies. When I'm done with the webinar, I can go through and do as many questions as I can get to. I'll have at least 15 minutes to answer questions. I don't have a ton of time. I need to get back to my family at some point tonight. But yeah, should have some time for questions. And we'll get started here just a minute or two, and I'll get going. Had 340 some people register for this webinar, so that was pretty cool. That's a lot, I think. I don't do a lot of these, but more people joining. All right, go back to the chat. Cool. All right, yeah, my video is not very good. I bought a nice webcam, but for some reason, my phone does much better than the webcam. All right, it's 6 o'clock now, my time, so another minute or two, and we'll get going. Cool. All right. Before we get started, I am trying a new venture out. I have 34 acres under contract out in the country. I ended up buying it I'm going to be buying it for $90,000. So that was a pretty smoking deal. But I think I'm going to try and build a subdivision out of it in the next year. So we'll see how that goes. My thought is to do 6 5-acre lots and then sell those. And we'll see how that goes. So I'm venturing out into new territory this year. And as many of you know, I'm thinking about investing out of state because Colorado's getting so crazy too. All right, 6:01. I think I will get started. So make sure. Last time I did a webinar, I completely messed everything up. So I've been practicing and making sure I don't do that this time. So I'll do my screen share, PowerPoint. All right. Can you guys see the PowerPoint presentation? Should show up there. Okay. So we'll get started here. All right. Why rentals are such an awesome investment. I'm Mark Ferguson with investformore.com. If you don't know who I am, I will get into that here in a little bit. But what this webinar is for, to really talk about rental properties, why they're so awesome, why they've been so amazing for me, and then hopefully how you can invest in rental properties yourself or do more if you're already doing them. Lots of things we'll talk about. But I want to talk about how to build cash flow and equity without taking a ton of risks. I'm not about, over leveraging, taking huge risks with my money. I want to be smart and calculating with how I invest. I'm not here to lose everything like some people have done in the past when housing prices go down. How to conduct business so that people will send deals your way without having to spend a ton of money on marketing. I've always been a huge fan of integrity and treating people the right way. And I think that comes back to you over time and will improve your business. And then how to retire early with rental properties, how to create a steady income, without having to guess when you're going to die and all kinds of crazy stuff that goes on with stock market investing. All right. We're also going to talk about how to buy rental properties below market value. Oh, someone said the screen is really blurry and hard to read. Is anybody else having problems? Uh-oh. No. Okay. Well, I will keep going. I'm not sure how to fix that even if I could. So how to buy rental properties below market value, someone else. A few people said fine. Other people said blurry. So I will keep going. All right. So how to buy rental properties below market value, which gives you instant equity instead of just hoping for future appreciation. How to leverage properties the right way, which increases returns, reduces the risk of losing your investment. A lot of people think leverage automatically is more risky, but in some cases, it's actually less risky to use loans. How to improve your mindset to give you the best shot of success. And a lot of people sabotage themselves. They kind of limit what they think they can do, and it hurts them in the long run. All right, so if you stay with me in the next 45 minutes, I'll try and get it done in that time. Sometimes it runs a little longer. I'm going to teach you how to make more money, buy more rentals, and be less stressed about money as well. And then, as I said, I'll have time for questions at the end too. All right, so why are rental properties so awesome? Cash flow is really the key to buying rental properties. I think it's the best way to retire early, the best way to really build something with your money. I'm making about $8,000 a month on my rentals. And that's not just the rent minus my mortgage payments. That's profit. That takes into account vacancies, maintenance, all the costs I have. Rental properties can appreciate over time. I do not count on appreciation, but it certainly is a nice bonus. If you read some of my recent blog posts, I've spent about $350,000 on my rentals, which is a lot of money. You don't have to spend that much. But that money has basically grown into $1.3 million in 5 years of equity in my rentals. And that's after selling costs. That's a pretty good return. Now, it's not all skill. I've gotten lucky with our market here, but part of it is skill with buying below market value, and we'll get into that. But man, it's pretty cool to see how my investment has grown. Rental properties have awesome tax advantages. Being able to depreciate the structure of a property allows you to make money on a rental property, but actually show a loss on your taxes. It's really just amazing how the IRS treats rental properties. You can buy rental properties below market value, which you can't do in the stock market. Now, a lot of people say, well, you can buy undervalued stocks, but that's not buying below market value. When you buy stocks that are undervalued, you're assuming the rest of the market doesn't know what you know, or you know something about the stock prices that a million other people don't know. But with real estate, because every house is unique, every property is unique, there are opportunities to buy it for less than it's actually worth right now, which has been a key to my strategy for flipping, for buying rental properties. Almost everything I buy, I try and buy below market value. And then leverage allows you to buy more properties with less money, and it actually gives you better returns than paying cash if you buy the right properties. All right, so why doesn't everyone invest in rentals? I mean, if they're so awesome, why don't we all just go out there and do it? Well, it's not easy. I'm not here to try and, show you a get rich quick scheme, tell you it's all fun and games and easy and anybody can do this tomorrow. It takes hard work and it takes experience. It takes education to really buy rentals the right way. It's not easy to get great cash flow and buy below market value. It takes some skills. If it were easy, everybody would do it. And if everybody did it, honestly, the returns would not be that great for the rest of it. So I'm glad not everybody invests in rental properties. And it's hard to save money. It's hard to get loans. It's hard to build a team and analyze deals. Now, it's not impossible. It's not something you can't learn, but it's also not something that happens overnight. And that's why many people don't invest in rentals, because once they get started, they realize, oh, this isn't going to be something I can figure out in a couple hours. I'm going to have to spend some time on it. I'm going to have to educate myself, and they give up. And most people aren't willing to do the things that it takes to really become successful in life. So I hope you do stick around and learn and take the time to invest in rentals, because it really is an awesome business. People are also scared they're going to lose the money they worked so hard to save. I was like that. It took me a long time to save my money to buy my first rental property. It was nerve-wracking, the first one I bought. But at some point I knew, hey, I just have to take the plunge. I just have to buy it. I knew I had a good deal. All the numbers were there. And so glad that I just bought that first one, because that just kind of catapulted me into buying more and more. And the more you do it, the more comfortable you get, the more experience you have, the more you realize what really is a good investment, and the more you learn. So, and once you realize that your money's probably safer, investing in real estate, when you know what you're doing, than it is in the stock market, than it is sitting in a bank account, than it is sitting under your mattress, then it becomes even less scary. Because really, if you have money sitting in a bank account, sure, you're probably not going to lose it, but that doesn't mean you're not going to go spend it, because it's there on something you don't really need. All right. Like I said, it's not a get rich quick scheme. Takes a lot of time. All right. Rentals are not quite so scary when you know what you're doing. Buying below market value creates instant equity. So that's something to really think about. I mean, you can basically almost double your equity if you buy below market value. So it's not that you're risking your money, it's that you're multiplying it. And even if the market goes down and you buy the right properties, you're still going to be okay. You're going to have cash flow. You're going to have equity. Buying with cash flow pays for your mortgage and much more when done right. So you're paying for taxes, insurance, vacancies. All that should be paid for when you're buying the right properties. Plus, you'll have cash flow coming in every month. Rentals are safer than many investments because they're real assets. When you buy a stock, if that stock goes down to zero, you're out. You've got nothing. You're not really buying a real asset. You're buying part of a company. So you're sort of buying an asset, but you're not buying something as real, like real estate, where you're buying land, you're buying a house, you're buying an asset. So I think it's actually safer than investing in the stock market. And once you learn what number is important, it's not rocket science figuring out what a good deal is. Now, I said it's not easy, but it's also not the most difficult thing in the world once you know what to look for, once you know your market, and once you know what your goals are. All right. So who am I? Many of you will know me from my blog, but I own 16 rentals, bought my first in 2010. I've flipped over 100 houses. I currently have 10 flips going. If you guys were here early enough, you saw my little whiteboard with all our flips we've got. I run a real estate team of 10. So we've got 6 licensed real estate agents, a couple assistants, contract manager, a couple other part-time people. And then I created Invest for More, a real estate blog. I've written over 400 free articles, and I've written pretty much all of those myself. There's a couple of guest posts we've done, but I'm really clear when someone else writes something. So everything you see is from me. I don't have a ghostwriter or somebody else writing things for me. All right. So how rentals changed my life. I made $28,000 total in 2006. Most of that was due to a failed flip. I tried to flip a house and do all the work on it myself. So I was swinging a hammer, I was putting in windows, I was replacing the kitchen, doing the flooring, painting, and it basically just wasted 6 months of my life. And I ended up losing money on the flip, which was just like, the nail in the coffin. That was not fun. But I had a lot of opportunities I missed because I was doing that. And that's what happened. I wasn't selling as many houses. We weren't doing other investments. And I got to a point in my life, I'm like, I've just got to change the way I do things. This is not working. And what I ended up doing, I completely changed my outlook on life, made a lot more money. But even though I was making money as a real estate agent mostly, I still didn't have as much to show for it as I thought I should. I thought I was saving money, but it wasn't growing. I was saving this money, but putting it in the stock market, mutual funds, it just wasn't doing as much as I thought it would. So I knew I had to do something different, and I researched a number of ways to invest my money. I mean, I was all over the place with businesses, with stock market, bonds, options, and real estate just kept coming back to me. I tried to keep an open mind, even though I was in the real estate industry, but it just kept coming back. Rentals were the best way to invest my money. And when I bought rentals, it was kind of like, the light bulb went off, 1,000 times. It's like, this is the way to do it. I had instant equity for the money I put into them. I had instant cash flow. I had so much working for me. It was just, I knew that's how I wanted to invest my money. So now you saw the numbers from before, but in 3 years, my net worth increased $600,000 just from the rental properties I bought. That's just from buying below market value and appreciation that happened in our market. After 3 years, I had $60,000 a year in income coming from my rental properties. Obviously, I had some money saved up. I wasn't starting from zero, but rentals just multiplied that money so much faster. And there are ways to invest in rental properties without a ton of money. You don't have to have all this money saved up to get started, but it certainly makes it easier. And, I just stopped stressing about money so much once I bought rental because I knew it was working for me. It was building. And I didn't feel like I was kind of wasting it or missing opportunities. So there's kind of 6 steps you can take that really will create an awesome rental property business. It's not rocket science. It's no secrets. I'm not trying to, give you some secret formula that nobody else knows about, but it's hard work and patience. It's good to know that rentals are not a great investment in every market. If you're in the Bay Area, it might be impossible to cash flow with rental properties. That doesn't mean real estate can't be a good investment for some people based on their goals. But for the way I like to invest, I need to be in an area where you can cash flow, buy properties below market value. And even if you're not in an area that doesn't have those cash flowing properties, doesn't mean you're out of luck. I am in Colorado with one of the highest appreciating markets in the country. And I am actually thinking about investing in Florida this year because prices are so high here and it's so hard to cash flow. I'm not just going to quit and give up. I'm going to find a new way to invest, a new market, and other people can do that as well. There's a number of different ways to do that, whether it's turnkey rentals or learning a market yourself or going to a market you're somewhat familiar with. There's lots of ways to invest in rental properties. The sooner you start investing, the better off you're going to be. That's key. And so what are these steps? We will get into it. All right. Number 1, always operate with the utmost integrity. So I like to start with this one just because I'm in an industry, real estate investing, where there's some shadiness that goes on. There's a lot of, people out there selling things, promoting things, and they don't always have the best interest of others in mind. They have, dollar signs in mind, and they sell a lot of things that just don't work, or they're just flat out scams. But I don't just operate with integrity with my blog, but with when I deal with other agents, when I buy houses as well. And what I mean is, if I say I'm going to do something, I do it. I don't try and play games with sellers. I don't try and nickel and dime everybody. I try to build my reputation to be as strong and solid as it can be, so that other people know they can count on me when they need to count on me. I'm investing for the long term, not just one deal. One deal is great, but it's not going to get you to financial freedom. And the more deals you do, the more your name will be out there. Don't be out there trying to rip people off, nickel and dime them, because that will catch up to you. It's going to catch up to you. People will start to realize what you're doing. Trying to save a buck by screwing someone over, it's going to cost you much more in the end. So what do others teach? There's a lot of strategies out there. Making 100 offers a week, to get a great deal. If you do that, you're probably going to burn out every single real estate agent you use. You're probably not going to get any deals, and you're going to build a horrible reputation. I know some people might get deals that way, but I'm a real estate agent. I have listings as well. And I know some investors in the area who make low ball offers. I'm talking, 50% or less of list price on every single house that's listed, hoping that someone will eventually one day accept their offer. And whenever I see their name, I don't even take them serious anymore. It's kind of like, oh, great. How low is their offer going to be? And I'm sure just about every other real estate agent thinks the same thing. And really, I don't want to work with them. And I don't think that helps you. And it's a waste of your agent's time. They're not going to want to make all those offers for you. If you are an agent, it's a waste of your time. There is a time and a place to make low ball offers, but don't do it on every single house. Don't make hundreds of them a week. You've really got to pick and choose which ones might be successful at making a low ball offer. There's a lot of people that teach wholesaling, as the only way to start investing in real estate. And wholesaling, it works for some people, but it is not easy either. That is a difficult business to get started in. You've really got to be awesome at marketing, awesome at systems, know your market incredibly well, build a buyer's list, find sellers. It is not easy to wholesale. And it can be illegal. If you don't do it right, you can be acting as a real estate agent who is unlicensed. So you have to be very careful when doing wholesaling, when looking at these wholesaling programs as well. And I would say there's about 10 wholesalers who don't know what they're doing for every good one. And those wholesalers give other people, the good ones, a bad name. Really got to be careful with the wholesaling business. Some people say investing with none of your own money is the best way. If you have absolutely no money, yes, you can invest in real estate. It is possible, but it's not easy. And I don't always think using all of someone else's money is the best way to go. I think the more money you can save, the more money you can invest, the faster you'll get ahead and the better off you'll be in the long run. The less money you have, the less money you're going to make. It takes a really long time to get started with no money. All right, so what does operating with integrity do? People will actually give you deals, accept your offers over others, and you'll be more successful. These are some comments I've had actual agents send me. Here's one. This listing is in somewhat rough shape, siding issues, needs new windows, drywall repair, flooring. Thought you might be a potential buyer for it. Let me know what you think. Feel free to give me a call. Seller is willing to come down from the list price with cash, currently at $139,900. That's an email I got, or I think it might have been a text, randomly from an agent who I barely even knew, who knew I was an investor in the area, knew my reputation was good, knew if I said I was going to close on a property, I would close on it. And he sent me a deal. Now, that deal didn't work out. I ended up buying it because it was a modular home and it had a lot of issues. But I have people doing that a lot because I've built my reputation up. There's a house I bought in, was that 3 months ago or so? And this is what the agent said. We would like to work with you guys as your offer was written very well, clean, and you guys were the first to submit. And that's what she told me in writing. When I talked to her on the phone, she said they didn't like the other agent. They thought they were kind of trying to pull one over on her. She knew who we were. She knew about our reputation, and they accepted our offer over someone else's, who I don't know if it was higher or not, but I know it was about the same price. And that got us the offer because we did things the right way. So karma, I'm a huge believer in karma. All right. So number 2, buying real estate is not scary. I talk to a lot of people, and many of them say they're scared of losing their savings because they don't want their tenants to, they don't want to lose their tenants. They don't want the tenants to trash the house. They're worried about all these different things. And really it boils down to, they don't know enough about rental properties, about how to do the numbers and how to manage the properties. Because if you do it the right way, yes, bad things can happen, but the law of averages will make you money in the long run. And if you're scared of losing your money, you're probably going to lose it in one way or another. You know, I've talked about that a little bit earlier. Is it better to let your money sit in an account where you're tempted to spend it on stupid things, or invest it into real estate where you're actually making money? It's multiplying for you. It's building something for you. Just keeping your money in a bank account is usually not a very good thing. Now, you should always have a reserve, you know, emergency fund, things like that. But, you know, as far as investing money, you know, you need to be putting that money to work for you. So when you hear those horror stories about real estate and how awful it is, what really happened? You know, you hear those stories about my cousin's uncle's aunt who bought a rental property. The tenants trashed the house. They lost $20,000. You know, I'm never buying real estate. It's a horrible investment. So you have to look at these situations whenever you hear these. First, usually the storyteller does not know firsthand what happened. It's a cousin's aunt's sister who this happened to, and they don't know the full story. So make sure whoever you're talking to actually knows what they're talking about and knows the story well. And not always, but almost every horror story I hear, the person who had the horrible experience made some really big mistakes. One, they bought with no cash flow. So they're just hoping that they could buy a house, even though they lost money on it every month. The house would magically go up in value over 3 years. They could sell the house and make all this money. And that's just not the way to invest in rental properties. That is asking for trouble. If the market goes down, you're stuck. You've got to buy with cash flow. People also turn a primary residence into a rental property in hopes prices will increase later on. You know, I hear the story all the time. You know, I lived in a house, but the market went down. I didn't want to sell it because I'd lose money. So I turned it into a rental property. The cash flow, you know, the rent didn't cover the mortgage payment, but I just was hoping, you know, the market would go up eventually. And they have a bad experience with rentals, but they never meant to own a rental property. It was kind of it's called an accidental landlord. So if somebody didn't mean to invest in rental properties and they weren't planning to buy rental properties, they're most likely going to have a bad experience with their rental property. Another thing, people forget to visit the property or talk to their tenant. Out-of-state investors, you hear that sometimes. Well, you know, I hadn't been to the house in 5 years. I thought everything was fine, but when I showed up, the house was trashed. Well, that's going to happen. You have to keep track of your tenants. If you can't do it, hire a property manager, have someone else who can do it, who will take care of the properties for you. Check up on the tenants, visit the house to make sure they know you're keeping an eye on it, and it will greatly reduce your chances of running into a trashed house. Again, they had no money, no reserves, trying to get rich quick on rental properties. When things went south, they lost money. And there's a lot of fundamentals involved in investing in real estate. And most people who have a bad experience with rentals, they aren't investing with the fundamentals. They're trying to do like the get rich quick secret, you know, sauce type of investing type thing. All right, when you invest in the right way, it's really not that scary. If you buy the right houses, it will greatly increase the money you work to save. It won't lose it. You know, my typical purchase price has been around $100,000, $150,000. I usually make $30,000 as soon as I buy because I'm buying below market value. So we'll look at, you know, a $25,000 investment can give you huge returns on a rental property. Buy below market value, you should be able to have a $20,000 increase even after making repairs if you buy the right properties. Good cash flow. $5,000 a year is not unheard of for cash flow in markets, and this is with a loan. Tax benefits can usually be 1,000 years or more that you're saving directly off your taxes. And that's without even thinking about the equity pay down, the possible appreciation. By buying below market value, having the great cash flow, that's how I gained the $600,000 in net worth in 3 years. And that doesn't even include any tax benefits. I didn't include any of the tax benefits in that. And I didn't even include the cash flow in that. That's strictly from buying below market value and the appreciation we had. I don't like to count on appreciation, but it certainly is a nice bonus. Once you've got the right education and experience, real estate's a lot of fun. It's exciting, and you're not scared to buy properties. You're thirsty to buy more properties. You want to find them. It's just an amazing feeling. All right. So how do you buy below market value? Obviously, that's one of the huge keys of buying great rental properties. Or your flips, the same thing. You have to buy below market value. When you buy below market value, you always have a hedge. And what I mean is, if the market goes down, but you bought the house $20,000 below market value, if the market goes down $20,000, you still have that equity. You still have that equity built in. You haven't really lost your money. One way that a lot of us were buying properties a few years ago were REOs and short sales. Colorado led the nation in REOs in 2006, way back before I was even buying rentals. I was buying flips back then. Short sales were all over the place. It's much more difficult now to find REOs and short sales in most areas of the country. There's still some areas like Florida and New Jersey that have a lot of REOs, but many parts of the countries are recovering now. Still, there's still REOs. There's still short sales out there. I've bought a couple last year, so there are opportunities there. Knowing, what the banks want, what they look for in offers, getting your offers in extremely fast on short sales will give you a huge advantage on getting those deals. I talk to a lot of investors who say, well, I just have MLS searches set up for REOs or short sales. I'm like, you're missing a huge part of the market. Traditional sales and estate sales, awesome opportunity there. So I have probably buy the majority of my houses now are not REOs or short sales. They're just traditional sales or estate sales, which are on the MLS. People who, the house needs work. Maybe they're landlords who are tired of tenants, a flip gone wrong, an estate sale where they just want to get rid of the property. All types of opportunity there on the MLS. Do not ignore regular traditional sales. Again, getting your offer in extremely fast. Being a real estate agent is a huge advantage when dealing with those properties. Auction sales, wholesalers, direct marketing, all ways to buy below market value. Auction sales, I'll give you a couple. Hubzu.com, awesome place, extremely difficult company to work with. I think that's one reason I get deals from them. That's Hubzu.com, is because they're so terrible to work with. But if you can get through the process of buying the house with them, they have some amazing deals. Homesearch.com has some good deals. Hudson and Marshall, Williams and Williams, those are all companies that do auctions that may not be in the MLS. You should watch out for those sites. Wholesalers, I am buying my first property from a wholesaler the beginning of March. So what a wholesaler does, we talked about that a little bit. They will find properties, usually off-market properties, using direct marketing, try and find people who want to sell their house for cheap. Then they'll try and take that house, sell it to an investor, and take a small cut for their part in finding the deal, connecting the investor to the seller. Now, technically, just connecting an investor to a seller is having a real estate agent license, practicing real estate without a license. But there's a way you can do a double close or an assignment of contract where that works. So wholesalers are a great option. And then direct marketing. I do direct marketing as well, where you send out absentee letters, put up bandit signs. I don't do that, but you can. You're trying to find sellers who are motivated, but they don't have their house on the market. So there's many ways to buy houses below market value. Just because you're in a hot market or you think that, houses prices are too high to find a good deal, I guarantee you there's still good deals there. I hear people say, well, these houses keep selling before I can get my offer in. There's just no way I can get a deal off the MLS. But you just said there's deals there. You're just not getting them. Someone else is getting them. So you just got to figure out how you can be that person to get the deals, not someone else. Someone just asked what REOs were. REOs are bank-owned foreclosures. So it stands for real estate owned. And so a house that goes through foreclosure and then goes back to the bank, that's an REO. All right. Like I said, you can buy below market value in any area. My market is super hot. I have I've got 10 flips now, and I bought 5 rentals in 2015. All of those were bought below market value. A lot of it was acting very fast. Being a real estate agent was a huge advantage as well. And remember, anyone can go buy a house from the MLS that's retail value, doesn't make much money. You have to work hard and know what you're doing to really buy below market value, and that's where the education comes in. All right, number 3, next step, debt, if used correctly, is awesome. So there's a lot of Dave Ramsey fans out there, a lot of people who are scared of debt, think it's very evil. I personally love debt. It's made me a ton of money, but at the same time, you have to be careful with it. You can't go crazy and over leverage yourself to the hilt. Debt used to make money will make you even more money if used correctly. I mean, that's how big businesses do it. Fortune 500 companies, almost all of them use debt to make their business bigger and more profitable. Cash is not always the best way to buy, and sometimes it's not even the safest way to buy either. I'll get into that a little bit. The more flexible debt you have, the safer you are. And what I mean is some people invest their cash and they can't get it out. I'm going to talk about that and show you why. Don't get stuck buying with cash. Many ways to finance properties. There's a lot of banks who say you can't have more than 4 properties. You can't have more than 10 mortgages. Simply not true. You can. You've just got to figure out the ways to do it. All right. Good versus bad debt. I also hear this story all the time. You know, if you have debt in a car, it's bad. If you have debt in a house, it's good. You only want good debt. I do not believe in good versus bad debt. I believe in debt. What I believe in, there's good ways and bad ways to use that debt. Now, if you use that debt to buy a $60,000 car that you don't need, that might be bad debt. However, if you need a $20,000 car for your job, maybe you're a real estate agent, you have to have some kind of image, and you could pay for it in cash, or you could get a $20,000 loan at 3% interest, and then you could use your $20,000 in cash to buy a rental property, then I don't think that loan against the car is so bad. Now, obviously, it's situational, you know, what you're spending your money on, what you're using it for, but not all debt is bad, even if it's against a car or something else, if you're using that money for the right thing. So, like I said, you know, if you're getting a 15% return on your rentals versus at 3% on your car loan, yeah, I think that's a good deal. Someone asked me to repeat who the auction companies were. So here, I'll say it one more time. You can always email me too. mark@investformore.com. Happy to respond to people. But hubzu.com, HUBZU.com, hudsonandmarshall.com, williamsandwilliams.com, and then homesearch.com, and auction.com is one too. And you guys will also be emailed the replay for this. So if you don't catch everything I say, you can go back and watch it again too. All right. Also, you know, just because you have a loan on a house does not mean it's a good loan either. If you have a loan on a primary house, the house you live in, and you max out the absolute most you can qualify for to buy that house, that's probably a bad loan in my opinion, because you won't be able to buy any more rental properties if you max out how much you qualify for. Very important to think about that when you're buying a personal house is how much you're spending if you can buy rental properties if you have that mortgage. A lot of people max out how much they can buy and they get stuck. Real estate agents like to call it house poor, where you spend all your money on your personal house. You can't save money, you can't invest because it's all going to that house. So I don't think it matters what your debt is against. It matters what you use that debt for. All right, why not buy with cash? I have many investors I work with saying they bought with cash and now they're stuck. They can't buy any more houses. And a lot of people don't understand that cash is not easy to get out of a cash purchase on a house. When you buy with cash, it's not easy to refinance it, especially if you're retired or have a high debt to income ratio. I know investors who have $100,000 in the bank. They bought a house with cash, but maybe they're retired or they're full-time real estate investors, a traditional bank won't give them a loan or refinance that property, even with all this cash they have, because they have no income. Their debt to income ratio is too high. So think about that when you're buying with cash, if you have the choice, because if you end up going to real estate full time or retiring in the future and you need that cash out of the house, it's going to be very tough to get that money back out. So cash is not always the best use. Now, just because that happened doesn't mean you're forever stuck. There are other lenders to use. So I've helped a few people find, portfolio lenders, local lenders who help finance people in based on the properties, not debt to income ratios. Returns with cash. When you buy with cash, it decreases your returns on great deals. So if you're getting mediocre deals that don't have much cash flow, yes, you will probably make more money when you purchase with cash. But if you're finding really good deals with a lot of cash flow, you will actually make more money with leverage. Cash flow is less on one property paid for with cash than 3 good rentals bought with leverage. So I'm going to go through these numbers here. Number one example, let's say you buy one property with cash, 3 with leverage, which is a pretty good ratio. When you buy the cash property, let's say you buy it below market value, you gain $20,000 with the one cash property, but you're able to buy 3 rentals, which give you that $60,000 increase buying below market value. The cash flow, $800 with the cash purchase. So you're making more money per property. So you're making $800 on that one property. With a loan, you might make $400 in cash flow per property, but because you have 3 properties, you're making much more per month cash flow. Equity pay down, you have no loan with the cash deal, so you're not paying off any loan, but you're probably paying about $3,000 off at least with those 3 properties per year. Tax savings, you have 1 property with a cash purchase, so you save maybe $1,000 a year versus 3 properties where you're saving $3,000 a year with leverage. And appreciation, like I said, you've got 3 properties that go up in value versus 1. Now, I don't count on that, very clear, but it sure is a nice bonus. And that's why leverage is so important, because when you add these numbers up, it blows cash out of the water. All right, so what about the risk of using leverage? When you get great deals at cash flow, it's almost less risky than cash, and I'm going to tell you why. Number one, if you buy a house with cash, this doesn't happen all the time, but it kind of puts a target on your back for people who are looking to sue. If you have a cash, house that has no loan on it, and tenants are looking to sue someone, they're going to go after you because they know the most money that they can make is from that house that's all paid for. If they see a big loan on it and they sue, they're like, well, maybe that person doesn't have any money. They've got to pay off this loan. I won't get as much. So that is one thing to consider when you're paying all cash and you have no loans against your properties. It can make you a target for liability, sue happy people. Even when the market goes down, you lose less money because you bought below market value and had more gains to start with. So that's kind of a tricky one to talk about. But if you buy at a $20,000 discount, the market goes down $10,000. With the cash deal, your $20,000 in equity turns into $10,000 of equity. But with the 3 properties and the $20,000 in equity each, they go down to $10,000 each too. You still have $30,000 in equity with the 3 properties versus $10,000 equity with the 1 property. So just because you pay cash doesn't mean you're always safer. More properties means more diversification and less risk. So if you've got 1 property goes vacant, you have no cash flow coming in. 1 property needing work, all your money is going to that property. But if you've got different properties, 1 going vacant does not kill you. The other ones will make up for it. If you're buying in different neighborhoods, they might appreciate different. There might be things that affect certain houses in certain areas. If you're diversified, the safer you'll be. How to finance, another big question. Conventional is one way to do it. Great in the beginning for investors who don't have a lot of loans. You can usually get a 30-year fixed loan. Rates right now are probably 4 to 5%. Awesome way to go if you can do it. I highly encourage 30-year fixed loans if you're able to lock that in. Use the bank's money at that low interest rate as long as you can. Local portfolio lenders. I talk a lot about portfolio lenders. I use a portfolio lender because I have so many mortgages. I have 15 mortgages in my name on my rental properties. Most conventional lenders, well, almost all of them will not lend to me because of that, but local portfolio lenders do. Awesome resource for people buying many houses. They have flexible terms, easier to buy when repairs are needed. My portfolio lender doesn't require a house to be in any certain condition, and they don't require an appraisal under $100,000. Really awesome. My portfolio lender offers me fix and flip financing too, which is amazing because I can, what's my rate? 5.25% rate and 1 point with my portfolio lender on my fix and flips. If you're using hard money, which is typical, you'll be paying at least double that. There are also national portfolio lenders too, hard money lenders out there, which I just talked about, and long-term rental property lenders. So there are national portfolio lenders who will finance pretty much as many properties as you can. They're financing based on the property's cash flow, its earnings, its, how strong of an investment it is, and not the person's debt to income, not their credit score. They're an awesome option, but you will pay more. You're probably going to pay 6 to 7% interest, but some of them even have 30-year fixed rate loans now. So great opportunities there. Private money, awesome for building up quickly and getting great deals. Private money basically comes from friends, family, coworkers, people who you know, and you can give them a better return on their money than maybe they're getting in the bank account or a CD, sometimes even the stock market. You can back it with the real estate, which is a strong asset. Private money also is great because you can make cash offers and then maybe refinance later. There's a lot of different options. Another thing I can do with my portfolio lender is make cash-like offers, which is what I like to say, because they don't require an appraisal. I will remove my appraisal contingency, remove my loan conditions contingency, and I'll write in the contract, I'm paying cash, but I may use a portfolio lender to finance a house as well. There will be no loan conditions, nothing like that affects the seller. Great way to kind of have a cash offer that's not quite cash. All right, helping people find lenders. It is not that hard to find local lenders if you look around. I have been looking around myself because I do a couple different coaching programs. I've been teaching people, showing them how to find lenders. I'm like, I should really do this myself to explore my options. And I found 3 different lenders in my town who would do similar fix and flip financing and who would actually do rental property financing as well. Now, the portfolio lenders probably won't do 30-year fixed loans, but they will still have options for rental properties. They will finance more than 4 properties. They will finance more than 10 properties. And my rates on my rental properties are in the 4.5% range as well. So when a big bank tells you you can't finance more than 4 properties, they just mean they won't finance it. Doesn't mean you can't find someone else to. All right, buying with little money down. Talk about this a little bit because a lot of people are interested in it. Really, I think the best way to do it is to buy as an owner occupant and then rent out the home after 1 year. You can get an FHA loan for about 3.5% down, get a conventional loan for about 3% down. But when you're buying as an owner occupant, you do have to live in the home at least 1 year. Really, it's a good way to get started. If you don't have the money, you can live there, fix it up, rent it out. If you want to try and make more money, quick out. If you live in a house for 2 years as an owner occupant, you won't have to pay taxes on any money you make on the house as long as you don't rent it out, use it for a business or anything. Another great way to take advantage of owner occupancy rules. I'm not condoning anyone buy who is not an owner occupant, pretending to be one as an investor, but if you are really going to live there, a hard money loan to a conventional refinance is also another option. You have to have an awesome deal to do that. But basically what you do is you use hard money or private money to finance the purchase price of a house. You might be able to finance some of the repairs. After you get the house repaired, you get a new appraisal. With that appraisal, you can get a Fannie Mae backed loan and refinance that entire hard money private money loan as long as the house appraises for high enough. That's a great way to get into properties with no money down, but it's very risky. It's a very tricky strategy. Private money, again, if you can borrow from friends, family, coworkers, another way to get in with low money down. And then there's something called a Fannie Mae home style mortgage, which lets you finance some of the repairs as an investor on properties as well. So now the thing to remember with buying with less money down is almost always going to cost you. The less money you put down, the more you're going to pay in interest. You're probably going to be paying mortgage insurance with less than 20% down. Interest rates might be higher on some of these loans. The initial loan costs are going to be higher. If you're doing a hard money loan to a conventional refinance, you're paying hard money costs plus refinance costs. That's why it's so important to save your money, use your own money if you can, because you're going to be so far ahead in the long run. All right, fourth one, cash flow is king. Investing for appreciation is no better than the stock market. I think it's speculation. You're just hoping things go up, but it's really not that advantageous. Breaking even on rent usually means you're losing money because people do not think about the actual costs, maintenance, vacancies that happen with a rental property. You've got to pay agents, you've got to pay selling costs, you've got to pay taxes when you sell. And even if the house goes up in value, you may not make that much money when you're investing for appreciation. And then once you sell a property, you've got to invest that money somewhere. So it stops working for you once you sell that house. That's why I like cash flow, because it keeps coming in all the time. And then something else to consider is when you have negative or low cash flow on your rental properties, it will hurt your ability to qualify for more houses because it's going to hurt your debt to income ratio. Many lenders will only count 75% of your rents after they're on your taxes. So it can be very tough to qualify if you have properties that do not cash flow well. All right, so why is cash flow so awesome? Cash flow is passive income, which is what we should all strive for. As little work as possible for money that comes in every month. That's my goal. I have someone manage my properties. I do very little work on them. Money keeps coming in forever as long as we own the properties. In fact, it will go up because of inflation, because your mortgages are being paid off. And with the right rental properties, you can build up enough income to retire much earlier than the stock market. All right, so why is cash flow from real estate better than the stock market? The stock market calculators usually don't even have options for retiring before 50 because it's so ridiculous how much money you have to save to retire that early. They don't even let you think about it. And you would have to save millions and millions of dollars to retire early with the market. The stock market calculators make you guess when you're going to die. I mean, what if you live to be 90 and you assumed you're going to live to be 80? You've got 10 years with no money. I mean, it's really not a good situation. Another thing to consider, Tony Robbins has a great book, Master the Money. I forget what it's called, but it's a really good book on the stock market. The returns are usually not as high as many of those calculators give you. The expenses are more, and you're really not making as much as you think you're going to make with the stock market either. So cash flow from rentals lasts as long as you own them, and you never eat into the principal investment. That means you don't have to worry about your money running out when you get older. You can retire on a much smaller amount invested. So like I said, I'm making, I was at $6,000 a month from less than $300,000 I invested. That $6,000 a month will keep increasing as I get older and older and older. I'm 37 right now. I just turned 37 on Friday. That's pretty cool to have $6,000 a month. Well, more than that as I buy more properties come in over and over and over. To retire with the stock market, and to create that $6,000 a month, I would have had to have already invested $2.5 million by now. So a slight difference of 300,000 versus 2.5 million. Yeah. All right. So how do you figure cash flow? One thing many people do when they buy rentals is they underestimate the cash flow on properties. Oh, someone chimed in. Money Master the Game. That's the book from Tony Robbins. Why do they underestimate the cash flow? Because they think their cash flow is going to be the rent minus the PITI, which is principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. All right, someone said the sound is getting garbled. Is it still being garbled, or is it getting any better? Well, I will keep going, and hopefully it's working. But you have to figure maintenance, and you have to figure vacancies when you have rentals. You can't just assume these are the only costs that are going to be there. So I like to figure 5 to 15% of rents, depending on the age and condition. Oh, people are saying the sound's getting bad. Hopefully it will improve here soon. All right. You can read most of it. We'll keep working. 5 to 15% of rents, depending on the age and condition, I figure for maintenance. So that includes, roofs, carpet, paint, whatever repairs you have to do. And this varies depending on how old the house is, what condition it's in. I also like to figure 5 to 15% for vacancies, depending on location and type of property. So if you're in an area with really low rents, really high vacancies, you're probably going to be much higher percentage-wise for vacancies than if you're in an area with higher rents, really low vacancies. So these will vary too based on the houses you're buying. It is not easy to find awesome cash flowing rentals. Like I said, if it were easy, everybody would do it. Why cash flow helps you get more rentals? So I know some people have asked, what if you can't find cash flow? What if it's just not available? Really, your first priority should be figuring out how to find that cash flow then. Because the more cash flow you have, the more money you're making, number one. That's the obvious one. Great cash flowing properties will have lower debt to income ratio, making it easier to get a loan. And then portfolio lenders, national rental property lenders, will lend based off cash flow, not appreciation. So if you have properties that aren't cash flowing and you want to use some of these lenders, they might not even finance you if the properties aren't making money. All right, can you predict appreciation? All right, more people are saying the sound is bad. Let me see, I don't know if there's anything. Let me try a few things. All right, working here to try and make it a little better. We'll see. All right, don't know if it's any better, but hopefully it'll get better here. So can you predict appreciation? A lot of people think, my town is awesome. People are moving in, high economic growth rate, great schools, prices have to go up. But the question you have to ask yourself is, how do you know prices are not already at their peak? How do you know other investors have not put all their money in the town because it's so awesome? How do you know the economy won't tank in the U.S., bringing your entire economy down? There's a lot of different things that affect market prices. How do you know big investors have not already factored in all of these indicators that you've seen, and they've invested heavily in your area? Institutional investors and builders may push prices up higher than the economy can support. Can wages support those prices? There's many things you've got to consider with appreciation. That's why I don't try to predict it. All right. People are still saying the sound is bad. Let me see. Oops. Okay. Okay. Sorry about that. Well, hopefully the sound gets better. I'm not sure how to fix it exactly. 5, your attitude will determine your success more than you think. The way you think about yourself and success will determine how successful you are. If you don't think you'll be successful, you won't be. I mean, that's just as simple as it is. If you don't set goals or know what you want out of life, you'll never get it. If you don't remind yourself of your goals all the time, you will not achieve them. I told you before, my attitude really changed my life. When I was a kid, I loved cars. I always wanted a Lamborghini. Many of you know this story. When I got older, I kind of let society tell me I couldn't get one, or even worse, I shouldn't want one because you shouldn't want nice things. You don't deserve them. And after a while, I decided I would change things. I'd make big goals. I stopped limiting myself, and I let my true self come through. I made a goal to buy a Lamborghini in 2014. At the beginning of 2013, And I did it earlier than I ever thought, and it's even been an awesome investment. The car is almost doubled in value since I bought it a year and a half ago. And it's helped my business. It's just been amazing. But why was setting goals so important? Goals told me what I needed to do and what I wanted out of life. If you don't have goals, you don't know where you're going to go. How are you going to get there? It's really important to have goals. I could set goals. I could work backwards from the goal to figure out the steps to reach my goal. So no matter how big the goal was, how crazy it seemed, once I went backwards and figured out the steps, it didn't seem quite so crazy. Big, scary goals motivated me like crazy. I imagined myself in that car all the time. That helped me achieve much more than if I was too scared to have a big goal. And rental property goals, flipping goals, monetary goals are all awesome, but you need a goal you can visualize as well. And having that car to visualize that goal really helped me become successful. And yeah, sorry about the sound, guys. I know it's not working very well. Belief in self-worth. If you don't think you can do something, you won't do it. If you think you're bad at something, you will be bad at it. If you don't think you're worth anything, you won't be. If you're jealous and having bad thoughts about those with money, you probably won't have money. You're telling yourself that it's bad to have money. And if you're afraid to spend money on things that make you money, it's also going to tell yourself that you're not worth it to spend money on things that will make you more successful, make you happier. There's a ton of things you've got to do for yourself, for your belief to be successful. All right, finally, the last step. We're getting there towards the end. Don't be afraid to get help. Too many people try to do things on their own. So I know I used to have this attitude, I'm smart enough, I don't need help. I want to prove to the world I can do it on my own. I don't need any help from anybody. I think our egos take over and try and bite off more than we can chew. Many people are afraid to spend money on education or betterment. Everything I need to know is available for free online. There is a lot of free online, and it is great information in some cases, but there's some problems too. And a lot of people are afraid, especially in the real estate world, to pay somebody because there's a lot of scary people out there. All right, so one thing I like to tell people is, what is your time worth? Free is great, but if you spend 40 hours to learn something for free, was it really worth it? Is your time worth $20, $40, $60, or $100? What is your time worth? I personally hired out mowing my lawn, shoveling my snow, fixing my sprinklers. They're all things I can do, but I know I can use that time better either with my family, investing, building my business. I have priorities for where I spend my time. I'd rather spend my time focusing on big money activities or my family than doing minuscule tasks that I can hire someone else to do. Don't be afraid to spend money to get more time. Time is our most valuable asset, and too many people sacrifice it for low value items. When I started out, I tried to do it all on my own as an agent. I didn't listen to those who already succeeded, including my dad, other people. I thought I could figure it out. I didn't set goals. I didn't plan for my future. I thought I was too smart for all that. And, I'd spend 6 hours researching flights to save $50. I'd choose to save $50 on a flight with a 3-hour layover because I thought I was saving money. I didn't get the big picture. I didn't understand what I was really trying to save money for, how much it was costing me in the long run. So, when things really changed for me, I started listening to those that had succeeded before me. I went to conferences. I went to REO conferences. I went to real estate conferences. I bought courses. I followed advice. I didn't just discount everybody. I tried to find the people who were the most successful and follow what they did. I spent a lot of money on coaching. I spent $7,000 on Jack Canfield coaching, which taught me an amazing amount and was worth every penny. I spent $5,000 on a 2-day mastermind meeting, which was an amazing experience, helped my business tremendously. That's a lot of money, but in the end, it made me more money than it cost. It was all worth it. I made so much more money and saved so much more time because of what I learned and the people I was around and the people I was with. I was also very accountable because I so heavily invested. When you spend that kind of money on something, it makes you pay attention, that's for sure. So who do you listen to? Now, there's a lot of free information everywhere. There's forums, there's blogs, there's real estate investor meetings, there's friends, there's family. I spend a lot of time on free forums. There's a lot of great information on forums, but there is a lot of bad information on forums as well. So it's kind of tough to filter out what is good and what isn't good. So be careful when you're on forums that you're listening to the people who really know what they're doing and not just wannabe people who are like to tell people what to do. When you don't know the people are listening to, you can get some bad advice. Take advice from those who are succeeding. So try and find the people who succeed at what you want to do, whether it's real estate, whether it's some other business, whatever it is, and listen to them. Also, when you pay for advice, there's a mutual obligation to succeed. It really does help both parties commit to each other and help them do a better job. All right. So that is the end of most of the presentation. So what we talked about, always operate with the utmost integrity. Buying real estate is not scary. Cash flow is king. Debt can be awesome if used right. Your attitude will determine your success more than you think. And don't be afraid to get help. If you can implement even a few of these things, it can really help your investing business or even your life in general. It's not just for investing in real estate. So, what we learned, why rentals with cash flow and equity are not risky investments. Even with financing, when you do it right, how to do business in a way that will make people want to work with you and send deals your way, very important. Why rental properties can help you retire early, even if you've not saved anything yet, or got off to a late start. Like I said, compared to the stock market, there's no competition if you ask me. Why rental properties are a better investment than the stock market. Like I said, even if the housing market drops again, if you have cash flow, it protects you in those downturns. How to buy properties below market value, even in a hot market with low inventory. Why you should never limit yourself on what you want from life, even if others tell you otherwise, and why you should invest in yourself. All right. Why don't more people invest in rentals? One, money, down payments, fear of losing savings, houses are too expensive. Those are all problems we run into. The market can't find good deals, can't cash flow in their area. Financing, qualifying is different for rental property. Hard to get more than 10 loans. And fear. Usually it comes from a lack of education or unsubstantiated what ifs. What if this happens? What if that happens? A lot of people put the worst case scenario in their head and never go for things they really want because they always imagine the worst. I like to prepare for the worst, but hope for the best. A little different way to look at things. All right, so where can we go from here? Like I said, there's a lot of free information all over. I encourage you to use it and learn as much as you can. I have 400 free articles on my site. Please use my site as much as you can. That's what it's there for. Another thing you can do is learn your market like nobody else. Wherever you want to invest, learn values. Learn what things are worth. Learn what rents are. And that will give you an advantage over most investors. Talk to lenders as soon as possible. If you haven't started talking to a lender, you don't know where you're at financially, a lender can help you get started ASAP. Talk to a lender. Start looking for deals. That's another thing. Taking action is something so many people fail to do. You don't have to go out and buy a house right now, but you can certainly go out and start looking at houses. You can talk to a lender. You can talk to a real estate agent. You can start taking action. So what do you need help with? There's a lot to consider. Rent to value ratios, lending options, money needed, where to invest, how to plan for your retirement, property management. Like I said, the very best way to learn things is to do it, but that comes with some learning pains. There's also another way that you can get started. If you want help to move faster, avoid some of those learning curves, learn from some of the mistakes I've made over the years. I have coaching programs, like I said. I cover the ins and outs of rentals and flips. I try to give people the information they need in the order they need it. And the program I'm going to talk about now has calls to action, which makes you get in the field and take action. You can't just sit at home and read all day. You have to get out there and do it. So it's much more than a book or a guide. It comes with coaching calls from me. We do them twice a month. It comes with email coaching from me. It comes with deal analysis from me. This is not someone else. It's me. I'm the only person involved in this. There are some other coaching programs out there for real estate investors. There are some good ones, and there are some bad ones. A lot of them on flipping, wholesaling, tax liens, no money down. be very careful with all of these because a lot of these are very specific and only work in certain markets. Wholesaling is very tough. Tax liens are very tough. It's not as shiny and easy as they make it out to be. I do cover flipping and wholesaling in my program, but my program is mostly about rental properties because that's what builds long-term wealth. Many programs are not taught by investors currently investing today. Like I said, I've got 10 flips going right now. I've got 5 rentals I bought in the last year. Many programs are 20,000 or more. I mean, that is crazy, but people will pay over $20,000 for some of the coaching programs out there. Do not worry. My program is not even close to that. And those coaching programs prey on people with no money, trying to sell them a dream, an easy get rich quick scheme. That is not what I'm about. I don't have any secrets. My programs are based on fundamentals, on learning core investing strategies that will make you money. All right, so my program, The Complete Blueprint for Successful Real Estate Investing, like I said, it's a 300-page guide. You get it mailed and an instant PDF. We do coaching calls twice a month with me. I cover a certain topic, then I have time for questions afterwards. All calls are recorded, and you've got access to them. We've got over 10 hours of calls right now, video modules. I have audio CDs and MP3s as well. You also get those mailed, and unlimited coaching with me. Really, it's meant to help you overcome the obstacles we talked about. Tons of information on financing, more than 4, more than 10 properties, how to find deals, even in hot markets, investing in other areas. I'm going to be doing a lot of the calls on that because that's going to be my strategy for 2016 is finding a new market to invest in. Money, how to save money, how to earn more, how to buy with low money down. Fear, educate you so that you know what a good deal is, and you'll always have someone to bounce ideas off of as well. So if you want to start working with me, love to have you. Here is the link to the program. Now, I know that doesn't always work perfectly. So this is my first time trying it. There should be a link now on the webinar screen where you can go to the store. If you use the coupon code webinar35, that gives you 35% off. So I do not offer this anywhere else. That's the most % off I give. And there's a few more here. Let me places to find it. If you want the full description of everything that comes on, use this link. You can go to my resources page on investformore.com as well. Or you can go straight to my shop here. Use that coupon code. It expires in 2 days. So you need to get that pretty quickly. And let me go back. I will leave that up. And I can do questions now. So, of course, now that I'm done, it looks like the sound cleared up. Awesome. Hopefully you guys, most of you stuck with me. Sorry about that. Looks like, quite a few people are still there. So that's good. All right. I have a lot of comments about the sound, about video, about other issues. So some of your earlier questions may have been pushed to the bottom. So if you want to send me your questions now, I'll try and find some of the most recent ones. Okay. Al said, my biggest problem to buying and rehabbing rentals is finding decent contractors, electricians, and plumbers. What would be the best source besides online solicitations, i.e. Craigslist, Angie's List, etc.? Contractors are my biggest problem as well. I think they're one of the biggest problems almost anyone can find. I have a couple ways I found them. I have found them on Angie's List. I have found them on Thumbtack as well. I like those sites because they have reviews. Also, referrals, personal referrals, other investors, real estate investor clubs are a great way to find contractors. Hanging out at Home Depot or Lowe's in the morning is when most of the contractors will go buy their supplies for their jobs. So if you go there early in the morning, you'll probably find contractors showing up, maybe not looking for work, but buying supplies. Talk to them. Go talk to those people. Try and meet people at those big stores is one really good way to do it. All right. Sherry asked, if we have rentals paid by cash already, how do we protect? Well, there's a number of ways you can protect yourself. I have all of my rental properties in a separate LLC with a separate bank account, and I also have an umbrella policy with my insurance company. So that's one way to do it. I would definitely talk to a lawyer, an accountant if you haven't, to see if what strategy you can use, because every state is different in the way costs are and how things are set up legally. But having them in an LLC is great if you can, but it's really hard to finance them with a traditional lender in an LLC, although some portfolio lenders will finance in an LLC. What other expenses need to be added to the cost of being a landlord? So I use a property manager. Someone on my team manages them. I pay them 8% of the rents to manage my properties. So that's something that I have to pay. If you're going to manage the properties yourself, sure, you might save some money that way, but it also takes your time. So you have to consider the time it takes. I try to account for the maintenance of vacancies. I've been pretty accurate, but then any fixed costs, payments, insurance, taxes, HOA fees, all those should be considered. And my cash flow calculator on investformore.com really helps you figure out those costs and gives you some solid numbers. Baron asked what markets I'm considering investing in. Right now, I am looking at Florida is number one, but I am open to different areas. But Florida, with its increasing population, still has a ton of foreclosures, but also increasing prices. That's where I'm really looking. Michelle, how much do you suggest keeping in cash reserves per rental? That's a tricky question because I have so many different businesses going. I've got cash moving all over the place. But lenders will most likely want you to have 6 months of reserves for mortgage payments, taxes, and insurance per rental. So, basically whatever your payment, taxes, and insurance are, the lender will want 6 months of cash for each rental you have. So that's kind of a good guideline to go by on a minimum basis, because that's what lenders will want. Joe asks, what is the best way to find good private lenders? Really asking your friends, family, coworkers, people who have money. That's the best way. And if you're afraid to ask them because you think you might lose your money, then I would think about your willingness to lose a stranger's money, but not your friends or family. So I know it's tough to ask people, but really you've got to think of it. If you know what you're doing, you're confident you're investing, it can be mutually beneficial for both of you. All right. Baron asks what banks I use. I'm in Colorado, so my banks primarily lend just in Colorado, but First Bank is the one I use most. Bank of Colorado is another one, and Windsor State Bank is the third that will do portfolio loans. Richard G, when you talk about karma and integrity, are you talking about contractors? How do I negotiate fees and labor with them but keep a good relationship? When I talk about karma integrity, I talk about everything. If I'm dealing with agents, other investors, my family, my friends, whoever it is, I try and operate, to the highest standard I can, because one, I have a clear conscience, and two, I know it's going to come back in a big way positively later on. Negotiating with contractors can be very tough. Usually, I think the best way to negotiate with contractors is getting multiple bids and just telling them, being honest with them, saying, hey, this guy will do it for cheaper. This guy will do it for that, and negotiate with them in that way. Where to find portfolio lenders? Google's one way, but really what you're looking for is a local bank or a credit union that is not very big, and you calling them, emailing them is really the best way. Tell them, you're looking for a commercial lending product is basically what you want. I go into a lot of detail in that in some of my articles and coaching programs, but yeah, it's not always super easy finding portfolio lenders. The trick is just contacting as many local banks, the smaller banks that you can. Lori asked the benefit of getting your own real estate license. Many. Number one, I save a commission when I buy the house. Number two, I save a commission when I sell a house when I'm doing flips. Probably the biggest benefit is I can have access to MLS, so I can see properties that come up for sale, 3 or 4 times a day, faster than most investors can. If I see a house come on the market, I can go see it in an hour. I can usually have my assistant write up an offer while I'm still looking at the house. I can get an offer submitted in a couple hours. And that's one way I can get really good deals, because I can act so fast on those houses. All right, does your coaching cover the unique challenges for Canadians who want to invest in the U.S. and buy multiple properties? I do talk about foreign investing. There are different options. You can buy in the U.S. There's no restrictions on buying in the U.S., but financing is the most difficult part. And again, local portfolio lenders are the ones who will finance foreigners more than conventional banks. I also suggest you check out my podcast from Anil Walia, who lives in Canada, and I think he's bought 40 properties in Florida over the last few years. I forget which podcast it is, but you can go on my blog, go to the podcast option in the menu, and I'll show you all my podcasts. All right. Tara, for your rentals, do you purchase single, duplexes, or multifamily housing? And for flips, are they mainly single family? My rentals are almost all single family. And there's a couple reasons I like single family. One, the tenants tend to take care of them better. The tenants tend to stay longer. And I think I have a higher quality tenants. And then in my area in Colorado, the returns have been better on single family than multifamily. Other areas of the country are the complete opposite. Multifamily will destroy single family returns. So I think a lot of that is market specific. And for my flips, they're almost all single family as well. I did flip a fourplex once, done a couple duplexes, but for the most part, they're single family. Another thing that is nice about single family is there are just so many more single family homes in most markets that the sheer volume allows you to get a better deal because there's just more houses out there. All right. Steve, what about a HELOC for down payments? Yep, great option. I have a home equity line of credit, which is what a HELOC is, on my primary residence and one of my rentals. Really great option for down payments. Also a good option for flipping if you want to flip. Really good, cheap money. All right, Jennifer, how do you estimate maintenance accurately, and do you know when a deal is a fantastic deal? Maintenance is tough. I've kind of just through experience learned what the costs tend to be of owning properties. My cash flow calculator has a table that kind of gives some guidelines for how old a property is, what condition it's in, and that helps base what the maintenance cost should be. And yes, how do you know when a deal is a fantastic deal? When you get experience and learn your market, you know. That's why I said one of the best things you can do is learn your market inside and out, or pick a segment of your market. If you're in a really big area, pick a different area where you know it like nobody else, and you'll spot those deals. Those deals will stick out like a sore thumb once you know your market. JT, how much money should I have saved, ready to invest before I buy my first rental property? I have poor credit. I would work on the credit. I mentioned before, talk to a lender. Talk to a lender right away, because lenders are probably the best resource for helping with poor credit. They can figure out what's wrong, what you can do to fix it. And if it's really bad, they can maybe suggest a credit counselor to go to, but talk to a lender right away. I would say it's good to have, depending on how you're going to buy a rental. If you're buying as an owner occupant or you're buying as an investor, you need to have the down payment saved up, and then also at least 6 months in reserves, for payment for the mortgage payment, in case you have some interest or some maintenance vacancy costs come up. All right. John asked, how's my project with Jordan Capital Finance going in regards to portfolio lending? It is progressing. It's actually, they asked me for more information on my application, which I've been so busy lately. I have not got that to them. So, but I've heard some varying things about them, but they've been really easy to work with and really responsive, but I have not completed the deal yet. So we'll see how that goes. The other problem is, I've considered selling some of my properties instead of refinancing them because our market's so high. So now I'm rethinking if I want to refinance or not. We'll see. Richard G, what are your thoughts on turnkey properties that might be at a discount versus buying property at 20% below and putting the extra cost of rehab? Your thoughts? I think it's really, really hard to find turnkey properties that are at a discount. I think most turnkeys are at a premium. So if you can find turnkeys at a discount, obviously it would all depend on the cash flow, the area, and a number of other factors on how good of an investment they are. When I say buying a property at 20% below value and then repairing it, what I mean is I want the total discount to be 20% below value after I consider the purchase price plus repairs. It does me no good to buy a house 20% below value and then put 20% back into the repairs where I'm back at square one. I want that 20% after I have all my costs into it. That's where you really have the advantage. Jed, hey, thank you for being here. Said he's got to go. Oh, someone said the audio's bad again. What do you think about borrowing yourself from yourself, i.e. you have personal cash? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Okay. Oh, Anil. Oh, yes, Anil Walia, who did the podcast from Canada, is on the call. He just commented. Very cool. Dave, you and I are very similar, realtor, investor, family guy, etc. How are you planning on paying for your kids' college in the future? Rental properties. That's an easy one. Rentals are just an amazing cash flow. I mean, right now, I'm not really using the money from my rentals except to buy more rentals. So I'm a huge believer in making a lot of money, investing a lot of money. And I plan on having, by the time my kids get to college, over 100 properties. That's my goal, which will be bringing in, close to $1 million a year in cash flow, I think. And my kids are 4 right now. So I've got, 14 years or so before they get to college. So yeah, my plan is to have plenty of rental properties so that I can retire in style by that time, if not sooner. All right, Ronaldo, can you give an example on what would be an excellent ROI and bad ROI? ROI, or return on investment, is really hard to calculate for rental properties because you've got the appreciation, equity payoff, taxes. I really like to look at cash on cash return. So cash on cash return is how much cash you had to invest and what the cash flow coming out of it is. So I like to see at least 15% cash on cash return. All right, Mike said margins tight in Denver Metro, realistic cap rate minimum. I agree. I'm in Greeley. Margins are not as tight here as they are in Denver, and I still don't want to invest here. I don't look at cap rates too much, but I mean, probably at least 8% cap rate, probably closer to 10 is what I think I'd like to see where I'm investing. Denver, probably 5 or less, maybe. It's really tight. Letitia, would it be wise to pay off student loans first prior to purchasing an owner-occupied home with the intentions to rent? It's a really good question. I think it would depend on what interest rate you're paying on your student loans. I know many student loans are really cheap, some aren't. And it would depend on, if those student loans are hurting your ability to qualify. I think buying a house will be a better investment than paying off the student loans if those loans have a really low rate and you're not in danger of the rate jumping up or having to pay off a lump sum. John, what would you, being young with no credit or money, trying to build experience, what would you do? Being young with no credit or money, trying to build experience and get some income flowing. You could, learning your market, number one. You can try wholesaling. Wholesaling is one way to get into real estate without much money, but it will be a lot of work, a lot of hard work. You still need money for marketing. Really, what I like to tell people, if you have no credit and no money, figure out why you have no credit, why you have no money, and work on those problems first before you jump into real estate. All right, Ronaldo, how do I know if I can rent the house at a certain amount before buying the house? There's a couple options. Goes back to knowing your market. You can look at Craigslist for what things are renting for. Look at Zillow for what things are actually on the market renting for. Do not rely on them, but they can help. Rent Range is a service that does okay at predicting rents. A lot of different things you can do, but really just the more you're in your market, the more you talk to people, real estate agents, property managers, see what stuff is for rent for, you'll start to get an idea of what rents are for houses. Charlie, any advice for those in the military who are trying to get involved investing in rental properties? It's not too different from people who aren't in the military. I would say the biggest challenge is you're probably getting moved around a lot. So you might be in one area for a couple of years, have to go to a new area. But that can be an advantage too if the areas you're being moved to have good opportunities for rentals. You can buy as an owner occupant. Then when you're forced to move out, rent the property as long as the numbers are there. And you have one huge advantage being in the military with a VA loan. So you can get a VA loan, have basically a 0 down payment and no mortgage insurance, which is awesome. So if you can use the VA loan, it's a great way. You still have to live in there for a year. You can only have one VA loan at a time, unless I think unless you're deployed or forced to move, you might be able to have 2, but you can at least use that for your first one. All right, guys, I've got a couple more minutes and I've got to get out of here, but I'll keep going for a little bit. Should I stay away from areas with rent control, or does it matter? It's all about the numbers. I am not as familiar about rent control as others because there is no rent control where I'm at. I know in some areas they have it. I think it just matters, how much is the rent versus the purchase price? Do the numbers make sense? All right, let's see. Oh, the comments always get cut off here a little bit. The next comment, something about commercial real estate loans to buy more properties. When I get loans from my portfolio lender, those are commercial loans. They're considered commercial loans. That's where the opportunities will come from. Oh, wait, now I can see the full comment. Okay, if I buy a beachfront multifamily property, owner occupied with a 30-year loan and max out my debt to income ratio, will it affect my future credit worthiness as to getting commercial real estate loans to buy more properties? Yes. But so if you buy a beachfront multifamily and max yourself out as an owner occupant, it will hurt you in the short term because most lenders will not count that rent the first year. But once you've lived there for a year and you can count that rent, then it will get easier. If you move out and you rent out the whole place and it's cash flowing, then that rent will count as income for you with many lenders. So in the short term, yes, it will hurt your ability to buy more properties. But in the long term, once you get tenants in there, those tenants are seasoned, then it won't hurt you as much. If you have an awesome cash flow, it may even help you get more loans. Okay. All right, everybody. I think the comments are slowing down. We've been on here about 90 minutes. I'm going to end this sucker. Thank you so much for being on here. Ton of people showed up. I apologize for the audio in the video. I am not the most tech savvy person in the world. So I'll see if there's any way I can fix that if I do another one. Thank you so much for being on it. If you have any other questions, you're welcome to email me, mark@investformore.com. I always reply to my emails. That goes to me. I know there's a few more comments coming in, but I really have to get out of here before my kids go to bed so I can say goodnight to them. Thanks a lot, guys. Again, send me emails. Have any questions? Thanks a lot.